My child, stop everything. I mean it. Because what you're about to hear is not just a message. It's your divine confirmation. You didn't stumble here by accident. I summoned you. I moved time and an algorithm to bring you to this moment because you finally did it. And now everything is about to shift. But only if you don't scroll past what I ordained to wake your soul. Don't blink. Don't skip. Don't silence what I'm shouting to your spirit. Watch this all the way through because I've hidden answers in every second. You've waited long enough. You've already believed through too much to miss this. I'm about to reveal why the war was so intense, why the delay was so long, and why this moment is so sacred. Stay with me. I'm not just talking to you. I'm about to move through you, my beloved. Before you took your first breath, I etched this moment into the scroll of your destiny. This is not a random checkpoint. This is the culmination of so many silent nights, unseen sacrifices, and faithful yeses that no one else applauded, but I recorded. My eyes have never looked away from you. Even in the hours when you felt abandoned, when the room echoed with silence, and your prayers returned like unanswered letters, I was there. I watched as you wrestled through doubt, not to judge your weakness, but to strengthen your resolve. You did it, child. You made it through a season where everything around you screamed that giving up was reasonable, and yet something inside you whispered, "Keep going." That whisper was me. I placed it within you when your own strength began to flicker. I carried you through storms you didn't recognize as storms. Pain you didn't realize was holy pressure. And now this moment, right here, right now, is when heaven stands to its feet. This is the moment where angelic voices resound not just with praise, but with the sound of doors unlocking, promises breaking open, and strategies being activated, because your obedience touched the heart of your Creator. Right now, as heaven is releasing your breakthrough, I invite you to sow a seed of faith into this prophetic word. Your generous donation today is a holy declaration that you believe God is moving in your life. As you give, the Lord will multiply His favor, protect your family from every hidden danger, and open doors no man can shut. Support this ministry now. You finally did it. Not by striving, not by earning, but by surrendering when it would have been easier to self-protect. You laid down your timeline. You laid down your need for validation. You let go of the opinions that once shaped your worth. And you leaned into me, not because you saw results, but because you believed I was still worthy, even in silence. That kind of faith, child, rare, raw, relentless, moves things in the spirit that no amount of hustle or ambition ever could. I'm not celebrating your perfection. I'm celebrating your posture, the way your knees hit the floor when your heart felt too heavy to stand, the way you kept speaking life while your own soul was gasping for breath. I saw it all, and heaven didn't just observe, it took notes. Your name has been spoken in rooms you've never walked into yet, not because of who you know, but because of how you endured. Now I am announcing with a weight of eternity behind every word, you finally did it. The waiting room is now the birthing room. The wilderness has now become the waterway. And I am standing in your midst, not with a lecture, but with a reward. Not because you earned it, but because you carried something sacred and refused to let it die. You were faithful in the fog. And now I am about to show you what that faithfulness awakened in heaven's agenda. My beloved, I need you to feel the full weight of what just happened in the heavens, because what you think was a small finish, I have called a holy fulfillment. You didn't merely wrap up a season. You passed through a furnace designed not to destroy, but to distinguish. You didn't just complete a task. You finished a divine test, one that was woven into the marrow of your calling, long before you ever cried your first cry. Do not reduce this sacred victory into a check mark on your timeline. This wasn't a deadline. This was a destiny door. And you didn't just walk through it. You wore through it. You bled through your breakthroughs. You bent under the weight, but never broke. You shook under pressure, but never shattered. You felt forgotten, but you kept following. And that's why today all of heaven exhales in celebration, because the moment you passed through the invisible threshold, something irreversible was triggered in the realm of my glory. Yes, child, I set a test before you, but not like man does. This was not about performance, but about purity. It wasn't to trap you, but to transform you. I wanted to see, would you still worship when the windows of heaven felt sealed shut? Would you still trust me when the lines twisted and nothing made sense but my word? And oh, how you surprised even the watchers assigned to you. You chose faith over fear, honor over hatred, prayer over panic. You silenced the roaring lions of doubt with the whisper of surrender. That wasn't weakness, child. That was warfare. The kind that shakes foundations, severs generational curses, and stuns the enemy into silence. I didn't need your perfection. I needed your perseverance. And what you just passed wasn't graded by the world's standards. It was measured by eternal scales that weigh the hidden, the private obedience, the tears that felt like incense, watering the dry soil of your promise. You were being tested in ways no one else could see, and you passed in ways only heaven could understand. I allowed the delay not to discourage you, but to develop something deeper. A root system in your soul that now runs too deep to be uprooted by shallow circumstances. While others were sprinting with speed, I was shaping your stamina. You were not behind, child. You were being built for what can only be carried by those who have walked through the fire and still chosen to bless me. You didn't just survive. You transcended. The test was disguised in daily trials, hidden in heartbreaks, wrapped in routine. And still, you never quit. You waited without whining. You gave when it hurt. You stood when it seemed senseless. A kind of faith like that does not go unrewarded. A kind of endurance like that does not echo unnoticed. I didn't test you to break you. I tested you to brand you. And now there's a mark of my covenant on your spirit that even darkness trembles to touch. And child, because you passed this divine test, the announcement has been made in the unseen. They are ready. Ready for revelation. Ready for restoration. Ready for the next realm of responsibility. This test has shifted you from waiting to walking, from wondering to wielding. You now carry authority you didn't even know was growing inside you. You passed not by pretending to be strong, but by admitting your need for me at every turn. That's the real victory. That's what I've been waiting for. And now the doors that were locked behind layers of time are swinging open at the sound of your name. Not because you performed, but because you endured. Well done, faithful one. What I'm unlocking next is only accessible to the tested and trusted. And that is now you. Let me take you back, child, not to punish, but to honor. To every moment when you stood on the edge of giving up, yet didn't. To every hour when no one was watching, and you still chose me. Every silent surrender, every whispered yes, spoken through cracked lips and tear-stained pillows, has echoed louder in heaven than the grandest sermon shouted on a stage. I need you to understand something. Nothing was wasted. Not the lonely. Yes, not the trembling prayers. Not the aching obedience. Each act of surrender became a witness. Not just a moment observed, but a testimony recorded in the eternal courts of my justice. When you knelt in private, the heavens stood in attention. When you wept alone, angels marked the moment with reverence. The things you thought were small were thunderous in my ears. The things you thought went unnoticed became evidence in the courtroom of glory that you were trustworthy with what others would have thrown away. You see, child Earth rewards the loud, the seen, the celebrated. But I, the Lord, your God, reward the faithful, the hidden, the surrendered. You didn't need a crowd to validate your calling. You didn't wait for applause to decide if I was worth obeying. You chose me in the dark, and now I will vindicate you in the light. Every time you bit your tongue instead of retaliating, that was worship. Every time you forgave instead of seeking revenge, that was warfare. Every time you kept sowing when the soil looked dry, that was divine defiance against despair. I recorded it all, not just as memories, but as mandates. Your tears have a voice, and they have been testifying on your behalf in my presence. And now I am responding, not with vague comfort, but with visible confirmation. Don't think I forgot how much it cost you. I saw when you said yes, and it meant losing relationships opportunities status. I saw when your surrender wasn't sweet, it was suffocating, but you still bowed. And that kind of posture becomes a portal. It opens realms that strategy and networking can never reach. You made your surrender a sanctuary, and now I have declared that your obedience will not remain invisible. What I'm about to do next in your life is not payment. It is proof. Proof that I saw. Proof that I heard. Proof that the silence was not neglect, but a setup. The courtroom has convened. The scrolls have been opened, and the witnesses your surrender, your faith, your unseen battles are all standing now declaring, this one did not give up, and I, the judge of all, am issuing the verdict. It is time. You must know this. Your silent surrender didn't just move me emotionally. It moved me strategically. I began shifting kingdoms when you said yes. I began releasing angels when you refused to bow to fear. I began opening books with your name on them the moment you kept walking through the fog. Beloved, because you have passed the test, and heaven has stamped your season complete. Now is the perfect time to sow into the very ground where your victory is being released. Every seed you plant today activates supernatural protection over your household and releases accelerated blessings. Give as the Spirit leads, and watch God move mightily on your behalf. You surrendered silently, but I will respond loudly. The evidence of your sacrifice will soon appear in conversations you didn't initiate, in doors you didn't knock on, in rooms you never entered, but were called into. And when it happens, child, when the blessing breaks through like a trumpet blast into the quiet, remember this. It all started with a whispered yes that I treasured more than gold. That yes is what built this moment. That yes is why the heavens are roaring now with the sound of release. The courtroom has ruled. The silence has ended. And the reward of the surrendered is rushing toward you like a holy flood. My child, come closer. I want you to hear this not as information but as impartation. You've lived through seasons where the silence felt deafening. Days when you wondered if your efforts, your pain, your perseverance were invisible. You thought no one saw. But child, I saw. I saw when your hands shook and still you served. I saw when your heart broke and still you forgave. I saw when your name was dismissed, overlooked, or misunderstood, and still you refused to let bitterness build a home inside you. I was not a distant spectator. I was the closest witness, closer than your breath, closer than your pain. And not only did I see, I recorded. Yes, I recorded every moment. Heaven is not run by forgetfulness, child. Heaven is not managed by delay. It is measured by divine detail, and nothing, not one act of obedience, Not one moment of integrity, not one tear-stained prayer slipped through the cracks of my attention. While the world was applauding those with loud platforms, I was archiving your silent sacrifices. While others gathered followers, you gathered faith. While some pursued visibility, you pursued me. That is not overlooked. That is overqualified in my kingdom. Do not mistake obscurity for irrelevance. You were hidden for preservation, not for punishment. You were unseen not because I forgot you, but because I was storing up every moment as sacred evidence for this hour. And child, I didn't just keep record to comfort you. I recorded it to respond. And now that record is becoming reward. The pages are turning not in fiction, but in fulfillment. My justice doesn't forget. My mercy doesn't overlook. The fire you walked through wasn't just for endurance. It was for elevation. I'm not raising you up because of popularity, but because of purity. I'm not promoting you for your performance, but because of your posture. The world may not have clapped, but heaven stood still. Angels paused in awe every time you chose righteousness, when resentment was more convenient. I saw you walk away from conversations that could have defended your name, and I defended it myself. I saw you stay silent when you could have fought back, and I fought for you. What was hidden in those moments is now becoming holy evidence. And that evidence is about to unlock doors no man can close. You see, child, when I record, I also redeem. What looked like delay was actually divine documentation. You've been living a scroll I've been writing in real time, and now the seals are being broken. This next chapter doesn't begin with striving, but with suddenness, with overflow, with open doors. You will not have to explain yourself in this season. I will do it for you. You won't have to prove yourself. I've already proven you in the private places, and now I'm placing you in public platforms, not for ego, but for evidence. Evidence of my glory, my goodness, and my grace. All written into the very pages of your perseverance. You thought no one saw. But I, your Father, your Creator, your closest friend, I saw everything. And I say now with holy clarity, it is time. There comes a moment in heaven when the scrolls are checked, the pages reviewed, the silence lifted, and the verdict sealed. And child, that moment is now. The record of your obedience, your waiting, your surrender. It has not just been stored. It has now been stamped. Complete. The testing phase is over. The qualifying season is finished. You have crossed the invisible line from preparation into manifestation. What you've endured has reached divine completion, not because you knew all the answers, not because you were always strong, but because you stayed, because you didn't let the weight of delay drive you from my presence, because you chose the narrow path when the wide one looked easier. You kept showing up. You kept praying. You kept giving when you barely had and heaven watched. And now heaven rules complete. Let me speak plainly to your soul. Beloved, this is not just a season change. This is a spiritual verdict. This is the moment the courtroom of heaven declares that what was needed from you in this last season has been fulfilled. You were being measured not in achievements, but in alignment. And now the scale has tipped. Not toward loss, but toward release. This isn't about doing more. This is about becoming more. You have become the kind of vessel that can carry what I am now ready to pour. The delay wasn't denial. It was me protecting you from being overloaded before you were deeply rooted. But now your roots are firm. Now your heart is positioned. Now your posture is ready. And so I stamp this phase of the journey complete. And immediately I begin the next. You will begin to notice it. Divine acceleration in unlikely places. Surprising alignments that make no natural sense. Doors that once rejected you will now request you. Conversations that once drained you will now confirm you. The atmosphere around you is already shifting because the verdict has been rendered. And that verdict is not a soft suggestion. It is a sovereign seal. What was once withheld because it would have crushed you is now being released because you can carry it. What once felt like closed doors were actually guarded gates. But now, the guard has been dismissed, and the gates are swinging wide. I did not forget your prayers. I recorded them in ink made of tears, and now I am responding with answers laced in glory. Hear me clearly, child. The word complete is not the end. It is the beginning of the next unfolding. The ending of one instruction is the activation of another. You passed what others abandoned. You trusted me in trial. So now I'm trusting you with territory. The scroll is complete. But the unveiling has just begun. And I, the author and finisher, am standing now with the next chapter in hand, not hesitant, not wondering, but ready. You completed the private season. Now comes the public revealing. What I do next will not just bless you. It will mark you. It will separate you from the crowd. It will confirm that you are not waiting in vain. You were waiting in faith. And that faith has finished its course. You didn't just cross a line. You finished a scroll. And that scroll, child, is now unsealed. Not someday, but today. Child, slow down your heart for a moment. Still your breath. I am not in a rush, and I don't want you to be either, because what I am about to place in your hands is sacred. It is not just something to celebrate. It is something to carry. You've been thinking of this breakthrough like a reward for surviving the storm. But I need to correct your vision. This isn't a trophy. This is a trust. It's not a ribbon for endurance. It's a revelation born through intimacy. This isn't something I give to the strong. It's something I give to the surrendered. You cried out for my timing, and now my timing is crying out for you. The release is not the finish line. It is the ignition. The fire that I have hidden the blueprint, that I protected the holy weight, that I wrapped in delay. It is now ready, and I am placing it in your hands, not as a prize, but as a piece of my divine agenda. The world tells you to earn, but I have called you to encounter. This is not the fruit of striving. This is the fragrance of surrender. I didn't wait for you to prove yourself. I waited for you to empty yourself. That's the difference. You see, I don't place precious revelation in the hands of the rushed, the proud, or the loud. I release it into the hearts of those who have learned how to kneel in the quiet. Hearts that have broken and still believe. What I am placing in your hands will feel familiar, like something you've longed for but couldn't name. Because it's not coming from the outside in. It's rising from the inside out. It's the very thing I began weaving into your DNA before you were formed in the womb, a sacred assignment, a divine unveiling. Not a generic gift, but a generational key. It will unlock things your bloodline has waited centuries to see. And it will not just bless you. It will bless those who didn't even know your name. This is legacy, not luxury. This is calling, not comfort. This is not just for your relief. It is for my glory. And I must say this clearly, child. What I am revealing now is not random, recycled, or repurposed. It's original. This is yours. It's tailored with timelines wrapped in eternity's fabric. This is what I protected when everything around you felt delayed. This is what I preserved when others were promoted. You thought I was being silent. But I was safeguarding a scroll, written only for your hands to unroll. And now that your spirit is steady and your heart is humble, I can entrust you with it. But hear me. You must treat it not like a prize, but like a prophecy. It carries weight that requires worship. It demands wonder. It may look like opportunity, but it moves like obedience. It will pull you deeper. It will ask for more. And in doing so, it will transform not just your life, but the lives of many through you. You are not receiving something to display. You are receiving something to deploy. And the power within it is not found in what it gives you, but in what it awakens in others. So hold it carefully, beloved. Follow it. Don't announce it prematurely. Absorb it privately. What I am handing you now will require more stillness than noise, more listening than explaining, more presence than performance. This is the kind of revelation that doesn't come with flashing lights. It comes with holy lightness, with quiet thunder, with silent strategy, and only the surrendered could hear the next instructions. So take a deep breath, open your spirit, and receive not a reward, but a revelation. One I've written just for you, for this time, for this purpose, and for a kingdom reason, greater than you've ever dared imagine. Pause with me here, beloved. Let me say it slowly, so the full gravity sinks into your soul. You did it. You stood. You didn't flee when fear screamed. You didn't flinch. When the battle turned brutal, you didn't fold. When failure tried to define you, you stood. When others retreated, you remained. When many chose escape, you chose endurance. And I watched. I watched when you walked through fire, not just hoping for escape, but pleading for meaning. I saw how each step required more than strength. It required surrender. Because you weren't walking with clarity, you were walking with covenant. You didn't have the map, but you followed the whisper. You didn't see the outcome, but you trusted my outstretched hand. And child, I need you to know that obedience didn't just move your story forward. It moved eternity. What you stood through will never be fully understood by those who only watched from a distance, because they saw the service, but I saw the strain. I saw how your knees buckled, how your chest ached, how your soul screamed in the quiet. I saw how you stayed, not because it made sense, but because my voice meant more to you than your own comfort. You stood not because you felt strong, but because you refused to betray what I whispered in the night. And that, child, that is rare. That is holy. That is why I called you chosen. You didn't just pass a test, you passed a threshold. You crossed into a realm reserved for the trusted because you stood where others sat down. You prayed when others panicked. You worshipped when others wavered. And that kind of standing does not go unnoticed in my courts. Let me take you deeper into what this means. When you stand in the Spirit, you're not just defying the enemy. You're defining history. You altered the storyline of your legacy by refusing to quit. Do you understand that you altered outcomes by standing when giving up would have made more sense? And because of that, there is a weight of glory now being poured into your life, not as a thank you, but as a next step. Standing was not your ending. It was your entrance. Standing didn't just keep you from falling. It qualified you to fly. I'm not just honoring your endurance. I'm entrusting you with elevation. Because anyone can walk when the path is clear, but only my warriors walk when the way disappears. And child, that is who you become. Not just a believer, but a breaker of cycles, a disruptor of patterns, a forerunner of freedom. So stand now in the strength I'm releasing, not with exhaustion, but with expectation. Stand not as one barely surviving, but as one rising into the reason you were created. What others will call sudden, I call scheduled. What others will label favor, I call fruit. The fruit of faithfulness in dry places. The fruit of belief in barren fields. The fruit of standing when it would have been easier to sit it out. You did it, child. You stood where others walked away. Child of God, as I release this new level of glory and authority into your life, partner, with this word through your generous gift, when you sow into what God is doing here, He promises to shield your family from calamity, restore what was lost, and pour out blessings you will not have room enough to receive. Sow now and step into your overflow. And now I will walk you into places their eyes have never seen. Not because you fought the loudest, but because you stayed the longest. And your staying has summoned a shift that no enemy can now undo. Beloved, I want to linger with you here for a moment, because this part of your story holds a fragrance that heaven can still smell. In a world obsessed with platforms and praise, you walked a different path. You didn't run after recognition. You didn't sell your surrender for popularity. You didn't perform to be seen. You only wanted me. And oh, how that desire stirred something in the holy chambers of heaven. You turned down shortcuts that others took without thought. You stepped away from moments that would have elevated your name, but emptied your soul. You didn't choose the spotlight. You chose the secret place. You chose the shadows of my presence over the shine of public approval. That is rare. That is reverent. That is the kind of heart that moves me beyond words. I watched you scroll past opportunities that would have fed your ego, but starved your anointing. I watched you decline invitations that would have made you more visible, but pulled you further from my voice. You resisted the pressure to self-promote. You refused to manipulate doors open with charm or strategy, and instead, you kept showing up in silence. You kept praying in private. You kept sowing in secret. And that kind of posture, child, it carries eternal weight. It is not trendy, but it is timeless. While others were gathering followers, you were gaining favor. While others were building brands, you were building altars. You didn't chase applause. You chased my affection. And that pursuit has prepared you for something applause could never give you authority. Because let me tell you something sacred. When you pursue me over visibility, I give you vision that no crowd can compete with. When you choose me over the moment, I give you momentum that outlasts the temporary. And now the moment has come when I, not man, will lift you. I am the one who raises the humble. And because you did not force your way into rooms, I will open doors that no force of man could fabricate. Your heart of quiet obedience has created a sound in heaven louder than any microphone. The rooms I'm leading you into now are not built on popularity, but purity. They were never meant to be filled by the loudest voice. They were preserved for the one with the cleanest hands and the purest heart. And child, that is you. So don't be surprised when platforms find you, when influence increases, when doors begin to open without you knocking. It is not a reward for seeking success. It is my response to your hidden hunger. I will show others what I saw in secret, not to prove your worth, but to fulfill my word. I will ask, where did this one come from? And I will answer from the backside of obedience, from the depths of surrender, from the secret place where they never stopped wanting me more than anything else. Because you didn't chase applause, you're now going to carry an anointing that silences every critic and surpasses every trend. You only wanted me. And now I'm giving you more of myself than you ever thought possible. Not just presence, but power. Not just a whisper, but a wave. This is your inheritance, and I have found you ready. Lean in, child. Something is stirring in the unseen. Do you feel it? That divine trembling beneath the surface of your days. That strange pressure in your chest that won't let you rest the same. It's not random. It's not stress. It's not fatigue. It's me. It's the evidence of movement. The spirit realm is not still. Heaven is not silent. Right now, this very second, angels are shifting positions. Assignments are being exchanged. Messengers are being dispatched. Timelines are being rearranged. What? Because your surrender activated something massive. When you said yes, fully, completely, with no strings attached, you pulled the lever of supernatural acceleration. You gave me permission to move not just around you, but through you, and I responded not slowly, not cautiously, but immediately. Do not be deceived by how quiet the natural world seems. Movement in my realm is not always accompanied by noise. Some of the greatest shifts are announced only by stillness. What you think is delay is actually divine orchestration. The silence you feel is not absence, it is alignment. My angelic hosts are not idle. They are being repositioned around you like a divine army forming new ranks. The strategies I'm releasing now are not recycled. They are fresh from the throne. Angels who once stood in wait are now marching. Chains that once mocked your progress are being broken before you even touch them. The enemies that resisted you last season are being disarmed, not by your strength, but by your surrender. And I am rearranging the chessboard of your life to deliver something unblockable. You are not waiting on a move. You are the move. You stepped into the current of fulfillment, and now you're being carried by something no man can sabotage. Prophetic appointments are being fulfilled without formal invitations. Conversations are happening in rooms you've never entered, and your name is being whispered by lips you've never met, not as gossip, but as divine instruction. And when the doors swing open, do not say, "Why me?" Say, "Of course." This is what was moving in the unseen, because you are now walking into what was already completed in the spirit. The glory that has hovered is now landing. The angels that waited are now delivering. This is not preparation. This is performance, not a show, but a shepherding of promise into manifestation. And I want you to hold on to this truth, beloved. When angels move, outcomes shift. The impossible bends. The atmosphere obeys. What was stuck begins to flow. And that is what's happening right now. Not tomorrow, but now. You don't need to do more. You need to discern more. Stay present. Stay yielded. Listen for whispers wrapped in ordinary moments, because those whispers carry the sound of wings. I have set my angels in motion for you. The battle has already begun. The breakthrough is already underway. And the shift is so precise, so divine, so undeniable, that when it lands, you will say with holy awe, "Surely the Lord moved on my behalf." And child, I will answer, "Yes, and I'm still moving." Beloved, let me set your heart free from a burden you were never meant to carry. The world may have taught you to perform, to strive for perfection, to measure your value by applause numbers and outcomes, but that has never been my language. I do not weigh you with the scales of success. I do not grade you by metrics or milestones. I do not search for performance. I search for posture. I never called you to impress me. I invited you to walk with me. And child, that's exactly what you did. Through all the pressure, the noise, the unanswered questions, and the fatigue that settled in your bones, you didn't perform. You postured. You bowed low when it would have been easier to stand tall in pride. You lifted your hands when heaviness told you to fold them in defeat. You surrendered your expectations when everything inside you begged for control. That is posture, and that is what moved heaven. You must know this. Performance can dazzle a room, but posture transforms a realm. A performer may gain the praise of men, but a posture of surrender gains the power of God. What I'm doing in your life was never going to be the result of a polished resume or perfect obedience. No, this is the harvest of your humility, the fruit of your hidden faithfulness, the reward of your worship in the wilderness. You postured your heart toward me, even when your flesh was weary, even when your circumstances contradicted my promises. That's what I've been watching. That's what I've been waiting for. And now, child, because your posture is set, your promise is ready. You bent before me, so now I raise you up. You remained yielded, so now I release what was withheld. You chose the floor of my presence over the pedestal of performance. And now I'm lifting you into places where only posture can sustain you. You see it now. How the battles you fought weren't trying to attack your gifting. They were targeting your posture. The enemy wasn't threatened by what you could do. He was terrified by how you stayed surrendered. Because the moment your heart aligned in stillness, heaven began to thunder. When your knees hit the ground, a countdown began, a holy collision between yielded posture and divine timing. And now the appointed hour has come. But child, I need to make this clear. As I lift you, as I bless you, as I open doors with my own hand, never trade posture for performance. Stay bowed. Stay yielded. Let your life remain a sanctuary, not a stage. Keep your heart low, and I will keep your influence high. You don't need to perform to keep what I gave through surrender. You don't have to fight to remain in favor. This isn't about striving. This is about stillness. Stay small in spirit, and I will make your life a spectacle of glory. And hear me with full assurance. I am not just celebrating you for getting it right. I am crowning you for staying low. You didn't achieve your way here. You aligned your way here. And I don't want your next steps to be marked by stress, pressure, or anxiety. I want them marked by peace. Peace that flows from posture. Peace that can't be shaken by attention or comparison or performance fatigue. Let this moment be sealed in your spirit. I lifted you not because you performed well, but because you postured faithfully. And that posture, that holy bow, is your access to every next thing I'm about to release. And child, as you step into this turning point, I want you to hear this. You're not the only one I'm awakening. There are others, many others, who are on the edge of their finally did it moment, but they need a sound to awaken them. A word, a whisper, a signal of heaven to reach them through the storm. That's why I'm inviting you now, not just to receive, but to sow into the sound. When you support this word through membership or PayPal, you're planting spiritual seed into good prophetic ground. This isn't charity, it's kingdom assignment. You are fueling the light that pierces the night for someone else's breakthrough. And I will bless what you give with multiplied return, not just financially, but in favor, protection, and acceleration. So sow now and watch me move through your obedience. Come closer, child. Let me wrap this truth around your weary shoulders like a cloak of rest. You've moved beyond striving. The season of straining for proof, pushing for results, and laboring under invisible pressure has ended. I did not call you to exhaustion. I called you to ease in me. You've crossed into a realm where the striving has ceased and the release has begun. And this is not just a shift in circumstances. It's a shift in your spirit. The anxious questions that once kept you awake are losing their grip. The fears that fueled your performance are falling silent because I, the Lord, your God, am now shifting you from the pursuit of breakthrough into the possession of being. You're not chasing anymore. You're carrying. You're not reaching for crumbs. You're receiving bread. You're not begging for water. You're becoming a fountain. And all of this began the moment you stopped striving to make it happen and started surrendering to let it happen through me. This is what I've longed to bring you, a realm not earned by effort, but accessed through alignment. A place where my word works for you because it has been written into you. You've labored long enough under the belief that more effort equals more favor. But in my kingdom, favor flows not from grinding, but from grace. You are now entering the divine current of flow, not frenzy. In this new realm of divine release and rest, I invite you to sow a seed of honor and thanksgiving. Your donation is not just support, it is seed into fertile prophetic soil. As you give, the Lord will command blessings upon your life, guard your loved ones from every attack, and cause His favor to chase you down. Give boldly today. Strategy didn't get you here. Surrender did. And child, now that you stopped striving, I can finally start revealing. There are blessings I've been holding back, not because you weren't worthy, but because you were still trying to work for what I wanted to give. And now, because you've learned to trust me even when nothing was moving, I am releasing everything that was waiting. This realm of release doesn't require you to chase opportunity. It attracts opportunity to your feet. It draws the right voices into your path. It manifests provision you didn't plan for. And it will shock you, because in this place, acceleration replaces anxiety. Peace replaces pressure. Obedience replaces overthinking. And joy, O child, a joy unlike any you've tasted, rises without a reason. This is what happens when my spirit begins to take over the soil you used to till in tears. I'm redeeming your efforts. I'm resurrecting your rest. And I'm raining down fulfillment in places you didn't even know were dry. The release isn't just coming to you, it's coming through you. Watch how I use your very life to water others. Watch how the very thing you wept over now becomes a well of wisdom for many. You've entered the river, and I am its source. And here is the holy truth I want you to keep close. Striving tried to steal your strength, but surrender secured your seat. You are seated now, not in passivity, but in promise. You are not pacing the floor of frustration. You are positioned in a place of release, where I do the heavy lifting. Do not pick back up what I've already lifted off you. Don't return to the mindset of merit. Stay in the movement of grace. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are released. And from this place, child, we will run together. Not frantically, but freely. Because the realm of release is not a reward. It is a rhythm, and now that you're in it, it will carry you further than striving ever could. Beloved, I know you've wondered. The question has echoed in your heart more times than you could count. Why did it get harder? Just when I was doing everything right, I heard the ache in your whisper, even when you tried to pray through clenched teeth and silent tears. And today I want to give you divine clarity, not to explain away the pain, but to honor the process. This is why the warfare intensified. This is why the pressure increased. Not because you were doing something wrong, but because you were stepping into everything right. The enemy does not waste his weapons on people who are not dangerous. Hell does not panic over comfort. It panics over consecration. And you, child, you have become a threat. You were not under attack because you were failing. You were under attack because you were birthing. And birth always comes with resistance. As you pressed deeper into purpose, something in the atmosphere shifted. As your yes grew louder, the spiritual opposition grew more violent. But hear me, the battle wasn't punishment. It was proof. Proof that the alignment you chose began disrupting ancient patterns. Proof that generational chains started snapping in the unseen. Proof that your obedience caused ripple effects that shook structures set against your bloodline for decades. You were never just fighting for yourself. You were fighting for legacy, for lineage, for the ones who will come after you and walk freer because you didn't quit when the pressure peaked. And yes, I allowed the intensity to increase, but not to destroy you. I allowed it to develop you. A fire refined what fear tried to distort. The warfare revealed the warrior within. When you stood in that storm, bruised but breathing weary but still worshiping you, declared to every principality that your faith could not be broken by battle. The very resistance that tried to silence you actually revealed your sound. And child, now that sound is echoing through dimensions. It has become a holy frequency one that marks you as unshakable. You've proven not to me, but to the realm of darkness that your roots run too deep to be pulled up by pressure. So now take this truth and wear it like armor. The increased warfare was a signal that your window was opening. The closer you got to release, the more violently the gates of opposition shook, but none of it prevailed. You're still here, still standing, still surrendered. And because of that, the enemy's last tactic has failed. You've crossed the line. You've endured the labor. And now you're not just exiting warfare, you're entering witness. I will now use every battle you fought to become a banner of breakthrough for others. What once bruised you will now bless multitudes. What once felt like punishment will now prove to be preparation. Now let this declaration be the sound of your chains shattering and your victory established, serving as a living testament to others that I am the God who handles the impossible. Go forth, my beloved champion. The door is open, and I am with you always. Before we close, I ask you to prayerfully sow into this ministry that carried this timely word to you. As you give heaven records your obedience, God will bless the work of your hands, protect your entire household from harm, and release the full manifestation of every promise spoken over your life. Thank you for sowing into your own breakthrough. Amen.